Women, men, children losing their homes, seeing their villages burnt to the ground. And it's all happening in South Africa's neighboring country, Mozambique, up in the north, in Cabo Delgado. This is casting a shadow on the southern African country that is causing much concern in the region. The violence started in 2017 with attacks from non-state armed groups. To date, almost 1 million people have had to flee Cabo Delgado and seek refuge elsewhere in the country or in neighboring states. Of the total number of internally displaced persons, over half of them are children. So we've just left Nampula and we're on the road to Kurane, and this is an IDP settlement. But it's quite interesting to actually see this road because this is the real effects of climate change. And I mean, one of the biggest countries that's affected by climate change is Mozambique and what it does to the people. I mean, in particular, when you look at what's happened in Mozambique, I mean, from January, just this year alone, January, there was Tropical Depression Anna. Straight after that, in March, was Gombe, the cyclone Gombe, which caused complete devastation to infrastructure, and this road was one of them. I mean, it was completely impassable at one stage. So you can imagine trying to access it and trying to get the people help on the other side was impossible. Bridges were washed away, all of the houses were washed away. So we're here in the dry season, so as hard as it is to get through, at least it's possible we can get through. Sometimes it's about 50 kilometers, it can take about 5 hours on the road, so let's hope it doesn't take that long for us. Kurane was established in November 2020. Kurane is the only formal IDP site located in Nampula province. The UNHCR works with the Mozambican government to offer assistance to the IDPs in terms of basic services such as protection, shelter, livelihoods, and care relief items. After a journey that lasted almost 2.5 hours, we arrive. What a drive it was. I think we gave you a glimpse into the terrain that we had to go through in order to get here. But Kurane really set up for IDPs, that's internally displaced persons. And the amount of people, I think Kurane in particular has got about 7,000 displaced people in, all from Mozambique. And those come mostly from Cabo Delgado. And Cabo Delgado, of course, is around about 500 kilometers from here. They have fled. They've either come here on foot, stayed for weeks in the bush to get here to find safety because it is just not a safe environment. So we're going to meet a couple of these families that have traversed some of the hardest terrain to get here in their own country to find some solitude. So come with us as we go into Kurane. Stories of extreme violence and displacement have had a devastating impact on the population. People have witnessed their loved ones being killed, beheaded, raped, their houses and infrastructure burnt to the ground. Juma Issa fled with his wife Christine Antoni and their children in July 2021. They hid in the bushes for weeks after their village was attacked by non-state armed groups. Do you remember what happened? Was it totally destroyed, the village? What did they do when they got there?
They killed the brothers and the father. They were beheaded.
And do they burn the village down? So if you go back there now, there's nothing.
Yes, they burnt the village, they burnt everything. There was nothing left.
Francesca and Susanna arrived in July 2022. Armed men stormed their village in Kwabe. They retell the story of how 4 men were taken and made to stand in the sports field where the children were playing, and the village had to stand around. The NSAs told the villagers they were going to kill these men, and if the rest did not go, they would be next.
Actually, the village is trying to stand in on, but now the men they are using another approach. When they come to the village, don't cut off the heads of the person. They just take the person and slice him open in the middle, then leave him die to death.
Many people have been re-traumatized after being forced to move multiple times to save their lives. Another family that we've just met arrived 2 weeks ago into the settlement, and it is something, I suppose, one then realizes that the situation is still bad and fragile. Funnily enough, the house that they are staying in now was with a family who had actually left to go back to Cabo Delgado. However, just when you think a situation is getting better, more families are arriving. So we're going to speak to them, and it's a pleasure to introduce Zach, who has very generously agreed to speak to us. His wife is Angelina, and this is Angelina's mom, who we'll call Bibi, as just affectionate. That's Granny. Why is this happening? What do you understand is the reason behind why there is so much violence in Cabo Delgado?
We don't know the reason of this war, when this war started, or where it's going.
The human face to this tragedy in Cabo Delgado is what stands out when you visit this area. The amount of people that have been killed is not known at this stage, but after speaking to a lot of these families, you realize that many have lost their lives. The situation in Cabo Delgado is still very uncertain, but figures do show that around 171,000 people have tried to return to their burned-down villages and rebuild their lives. But as they return, other villages fall to the same fate. When asked if they would like to go back, they all have the same answer.
We would like to go home, yes. Yes, I do, because home is home.
Leanne Manus and video journalist Sibusiso Thembe, Korane IDP settlement, Nampula, Mozambique.